What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show with me, Sean Sheehan, here on Sherdog.com. And today I am here with my top bets for UFC 319, which goes down this weekend over in Chicago, Illinois, August 16, 2025. And this is a really good card, headlined by a middleweight title fight, long in the making. This is my second betting preview this week. My other video is already out. That's breaking down the bets on every single fight for the PFL 9 card. So if you want PFL bets, go over there. But you're here now for the UFC bets. Also in that video, I break down last week. We went 3 from 4 on the bets last week, so we did them pretty well. So check that out over on that video as well. But I'm going to get straight into the bets here. I actually have 7 bets for you today. So 7 big bets for you from the PFL. I think I have a total of like 15 bets altogether this week. So plenty of picks, plenty to be right, plenty to be wrong as well. But let's get into it. I'm going to go straight to the main event, and I actually have 2 bets from the main event. 1 normal bet, 1 flyer. Another thing, every single bet, the PFL ones I gave out, there was a lot of big favorites there. I gave out some big favorites. Every single bet's a plus money bet from the UFC 319. Now, I didn't mean it to be that. It just kind of worked out that way. So here we go. Bet number 1. I'm going for the main event to go to a decision at plus 275. Now, why do I say the main event will go to a decision? I think there's a bit behind this. So I have a feeling, and now I might contradict this later on with my second bet with my flyer. Do you know what? Maybe I'll break a habit of a lifetime. Maybe I'll give the flyer straight up here as well. Do you know what? Let's do it. The flyer is, so bet number 1 plus 275. Fight goes to a decision. Bet number 2, flyer plus 8,000. 80 to 1. Now, some places lower, some places only 40 to 1, 51. The draw. I'm picking the draw here, right? And I'll tell you why I'm picking the draw first. Chimaev comes out quick. Chimaev 10-8 people in round 1. Chimaev wins round number 2. But can Chimaev win 3, 4, and 5 is the question. And if he doesn't, and Plessis does, then what do we have right there? We have a draw. Now, as unlikely as that sounds, is it 80 to 1 unlikely? And like it's a flyer, I'm not telling you to bet the house in this, but you know, if you have a fiver to throw away that you never want to see again, as my friends in the co-main event podcast would say, is the bet crazy at 80 to 1? Now I've picked the draw crazy. I've picked the draw before. And I've been right. I've picked the draw. I think this is my 3rd time. I'm 1 for 1 so far. So let's see on that. Could it be a draw? But the fight to go to decision, right? I come on here month after month after month when there's new people in UFC title fights, right? Who haven't fought there before, haven't maybe gone 5 rounds that often, and I say they have to adjust their game to fight 5 rounds. Now, when Chimaev is fighting, that's a very weird thing to say, because why would he adjust his game? It's been so successful for him. He just goes in there and he barrels his way across. Like, I'm picking the draw, so I think maybe he will do that anyway, right? But is there something to be said for him doing that? Getting through it, losing, but maybe having enough, preparing unbelievably well. And I know he's a new physical conditioning trainer. I was talking to my friend Spencer Kite about it, and he mentioned that to me, that he can get through that and go to decision, maybe win decision. Obviously, the first bet is just the fight to go to decision, doesn't matter who wins. Or the other way around, like obviously the draw or Plessis picking up, the 4 of those rounds. Let's put it that way. That's one possibility, right? The other possibility is he wins in round 1. Another possibility is he wins round 1, gets tired, finished in rounds 3, 4, and 5 or something like that. All very much possibilities. But the one thing that maybe we wouldn't have put as much thought into, that I say, as I said, every few weeks here, will Chimaev adjust his game? Will he go out less balls to the wall and try to fight a more technical winning fight? Let's put it that way. Against the guy who's, let's be honest, Plessis is not the most technical fighter in the world. He's excellent at what he does, and being different, I think, is maybe an overview of what he does well. Like, will Chimaev back himself to be the more technical fighter over 5 rounds, let's say? as unusual as it sounds, a lot of fighters who we see being crazy men adjust their game to be more like that because the 5 rounds is tough. And when you're fighting a guy like Du Plessis, who's won his last 3 fights, gone 5 rounds, 4 rounds, 5 rounds, you have to prepare for that. Not just prepare in terms of physically prepare, technically and tactically prepare for that. I think the possibility is there. So, bet number 1 and 2 of the week, the fight to go to decision, the main event, plus 275. And then we're going for the flyer, the draw at 80 to 1. Right, bet number 2. I'm going for... So, I was going to pick Aaron Pico straight up at minus 270, which is, it's fine. But again, I wanted a plus money bet here. I like this betting off. I think this is how he's going to win. So I'm going for Pico via decision at plus 148. Now, I've talked about this fight a few times this week, and my thinking on this is it's a bit weird to say Pico by decision. Look, he's only got decision twice in 17 fights. He's won both of them, in fact. And Murphy is a decision winner. He's gone to decision 10 times, won 9 of them, 1 draw. But my thinking in this fight is Murphy has never fought an athlete like Aaron Pico. He's never fought a guy who can land with big power or put you in big submissions and win rounds in a big way like Pico does and can. I think this is going to be nip and tuck, with Murphy being like what he's excellent at. I think he's underrated. Like, he doesn't get the credit for being the technical fighter that he is. But technical fighters are often beaten by guys who are better athletes because they can nick rounds. And what I mean by that is, like, Murphy could be winning a round for 4 minutes, and next thing Pico gets a big takedown, wattles him with an elbow, cuts him open, and wins the round. Pico could be losing for the first 2 minutes of round 2, hit him with a right hand, knock him down, get on top for a minute or two. Murphy comes up and he starts jabbing him and he wins the rest of the round, but Pico's going to win that round. We know how fights are judged these days, and I think they're correctly judged that way. Does Murphy have the all-out power to do that to Pico and to nick those rounds against Pico? I don't think so. I think if he wins those rounds, he has to dominate him from pillar to post. That's how I think Aaron Pico's going to win. Now, Pico's only fought once in the last 2 years. Look what has happened to some of the other Bellator guys that have come in. Has that been because of quality, or has it been because of, the lights of the UFC and, it's a big decision and a big time in their career? Murphy's well used to fighting in the UFC. Could it happen to Pico again? It absolutely could. But my reckoning here is that Pico has been through so much in his career that he's prepared for this. And I think he is. As much as I like Laurent Murphy, look, would I be shocked if Murphy won the decision? No. But I like Pico at plus money, plus 148 to win the decision. So bet number 2 straight up of the week in the UFC is Aaron Pico to win the decision at plus 148. Another fight, I spoke to a few people about this as well, and they told me not to give this bet, but I'm giving it anyway. I'm going for Carlos Prates to win the decision. Now, I have lots of decisions this week. At plus 280, I really like this price, right? Again, Carlos Prates has been to decision 4 times in his career. Jeff Neal, 7 times out of a total of like 63 fights, I believe, or something like that, or maybe a little bit less now, around 60 fights, right? So it's not a whole lot. But my kind of thinking in this is, my thinking in this is that both guys, it's going to be a little bit like a Cold War. That both guys throw so hard and both guys have so much power that when it inevitably does turn into that for periods of, let's say, round 1, I think both guys are going to be like, oh, hold on, I'm going to need to get on the end of my jab and win this fight here. And I think Prates will have the better of that. Now, I could be wrong. Look, Prates could catch him with a big left hand, knock him out. Jeff Neal, we know those mad uppercuts he throws or something like that. He could catch him as well. They have a great finishing record, no doubt about it. But I just have a feeling we could have a little bit of a Cold War here as well. Prates' last fight did go to a decision, 5 rounds. Jeff Neal, 2 fights ago, went to a decision. His fight before that was a knee injury, but with Ian Gary, funnily enough. So that's the pick. That's pick number 3, plus 280. It's a pretty good price as well. Fight goes to a decision. Or no, sorry. Prates wins by decision. Plus 280. I have another win by decision. This is my last decision win bet next. I'm going for MVP to win by decision at plus 120. Now, I was a little bit shocked when I saw MVP was around a minus 200 favourite here against Jared Cannonier. But I think at the end of the day, I think he is rightly the favourite. A lot of people might say, look, this is a former welterweight against a former heavyweight. But I've interviewed MVP and I'm 6'3" and he towers above me. You know, it says 6'3" here in Sherdog. That's wrong. Maybe I'm a little bit under 6'3", but I'm at least 6'2" and 3/4. MVP is 6'4", 6'5", I would say. Probably closer to 6'5" than 6'4". He's a big guy, and I don't think he'll have any trouble. You know, he's way taller than Jared Cannonier. There's going to be Jared Cannonier says here 6 foot. There's going to be a big discrepancy there in the height, the reach, and I think that's going to be enough for MVP, to be honest. I think he's going to jab him up from the outside, kick the legs. Cannonier, you know, can wrestle and is able to get the fight to the ground. Not a big finisher on the ground. I just think MVP is going to play that outside game, dance around Cannonier. Cannonier's not going to be able to catch him, and there'll be issues. Now, the height thing is one thing, but it's the size is the other thing. Like, MVP is not going, like, MVP will probably get up to what? You know, 195 maybe. You're probably thinking Cannonier is probably going to get up to 205, 215 after the win. So maybe that's a little bit off, but if he can catch him, I think it's going to be problems for MVP. But the people who have caught MVP are Ian Gary and Logan Story. Now, Douglas Lima caught him in a different way. He caught him with a punch. But the two lads who've been able to catch him and take him down, like, with all due respect to Jared Cannonier, I don't think he's as good as either of the two of them as a fighter as Ian Gary or as a wrestler as Logan Storley. I like MVP in this a lot, and I think he'll get the win by decision at plus 120. Plus 120 for MVP. Right. So those are the 4 top bets for the week. I gave you one of the flyers. I have another flyer to give you, and then I have the pay-per-view parlay, which I love this week, which I absolutely love. So the next flyer I'm going for, and I'll be honest, I love this bet as well. Love it. I'm going for Alexander Hernandez to beat Jay Super via knockout. Now, I was actually looking for like a first round knockout, which would be even bigger, right? I'll look that up now, see can I find it here. But I'm sticking with the knockout because that's pretty big. Let's see if we can see the first round knockout. So the first round knockout is plus 1,500. I like that even more. Hernandez first round knockout plus 1,500. I'll be honest, right? I'm not fully buying into the Chase Hooper stuff. He beat Jim Miller, he beat Clay Guida. He looked really good. He's getting better. Alexander Hernandez has been on a tough run. He's won his last 2 in a row, and he's won them both by decision, which kind of goes against, you know, he used to be this mad, brilliant at the start of fights. You know, I think his two of his first UFC wins were via first round knockout. I think in his first 5 wins, he had 3 via first round knockout. So he got that reputation. Now, has that been the way with him recently? I think he's had tried to do it at times, and it hasn't worked out well for him. And his last 5 fights, have all gone to a decision. But I think in this fight, he almost has to go for Chase Hooper. I think if the fight goes longer, if Hooper's wrestling gets into it, I think it's a nightmare for Hernandez. So I think he has to go for him early. I think he will go for him early. Will he get him? We'll see on that one. But I think it's a really good flyer at plus 575, at plus 1,500 for the first round knockout. I think that's pretty good. He's a minus 300 underdog, not the biggest underdog in the world. You know, plus 260 best price and plus 260 best price on Hernandez, minus 300 best price on Hooper. So I'm going for the flyer. I'm going for a big one there. Right, the pay-per-view parlay before I let you go, plus 688. Drakkar Klose, Aaron Pico, Carlos Prates, MVP. Minus 132, Klose. Pico minus 180, Prates minus 235, and MVP minus 188. I love that. I've spoken about all the rest of them, obviously. I think Pico explained why I think he'll win that the same with Prates. I think he'll be a little bit better at range. And MVP again, a little bit better at range. For Klose, I like Drakkar Klose. He's fighting Edson Barboza, obviously. He's the 1+ money guy in it. He lost his last one against Joel Alvarez, and maybe didn't look his best in that one last December, but he's taken a good while off, 9 months off to recover from that knockout. Joel Alvarez, in my opinion, is probably the most underrated guy in this division. Edson Barboza's coming back up to 155 after a long stint at 145 at 39 years of age. I just think Klose might have the better of it here. I think, we've seen him. You remember that big slam, like his ability to pull something like that out, but he's good against the cage. He can wrestle. He's well able to jab. Like, he needs to avoid that leg kick, obviously, as we all know, but I just like Klose in this fight. I think he's a good fighter. I think he's an underrated fighter as well. A guy who won 4 in a row in a very, very tough division after winning 3 in a row before that, the Beneil Dariush loss in the middle. So I like Klose on that one. So just to recap the bets for the week, the main event goes to decision, +275. Pico wins by decision at +148, +280 for Prates decision. The MVP decision at +120. Hernandez by KO, +575. +8,000 for the draw in the main event. And then the +688 pay-per-view parlay for Klose, Pico, Prates, and Page. All right, everybody, I will leave it there. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please bet responsibly. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.